Lord, I come, I confess, bow and here, I find my rest. Without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Incredible. That was amazing singing that with you guys. If there is a verse that's not on our sheets today, which we're going to end on. So if you speak in a different language, I advise you to just go to Bible Gateway and look at Matthew 7. Just make sure that's available for you at that time. Matthew 7:24. Matthew 7:24 to 27. Matthew 7:24 to 27. But we've got a while before we get there. Okay, great. So we're 1 week away from ending our series in Ecclesiastes, and I thought I'll give you a little memory test to see if you guys have been paying attention. Let's go back to chapter 1 before we do chapter 10. Okay, so I want you to fill in the blanks for me, okay? I applied my mind to the study and to explore by... Wisdom, thank you. All that is done under the heavens. What's a heavy burden? Everyone got that, okay. It's been a burden, has it, for you guys, right? Okay, I can see. God has laid on mankind. I have seen all things that are done under the sun. I just. All of them are meaningless. A chasing after the winds. There you go. Even though I helped you guys out. Yeah. Yes, so of course, the conclusion right from the start, it was meaningless. Life is like a vapor. It's like smoke. It looks good for a second. It's got a moment of structure. But it changes. And then it disappears. And it's like, and what he's doing is he's trying to chase it. He's trying to grab hold of it. And it's like chasing the winds. You can't do it. And he's left frustrated. And it feels like a burden on him. So his search was explored by wisdom, of course. And he's talked about wisdom many times. And what better way to end his study on wisdom and search on wisdom than to show what's the opposite of wisdom, which is folly. And he describes foolishness for us today. And he shows it in comparison to wisdom. And he shows the consequences of living by folly, not wisdom. Here's a few verses to get us in the understanding of what foolishness is. So the way of the fool seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. The wise store up knowledge, but the mouth of the fool invites ruin. A quick-tempered person does foolish things, and the one who devises evil schemes is hated. A dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. Have you ever thought that my way is better than your way? I don't need to listen to any advice? Ever been quick in your anger? Ever said the wrong thing, the wrong time? Do you continue making the same mistakes? I think we all can agree that we all have foolish tendencies in us. We've all experienced what it's like. And sometimes we can make a foolish mistake, and we experience a consequence of that. Maybe it's God just has to convict us and to ask forgiveness to him or to others. Maybe it's just a consequence of like just one day it's just turned out pretty bad because of one decision. Or maybe we keep on making the same mistake and it steers the course of our lives for a period of time. There's a danger of being foolish. And that's the title of today's talk, The Danger of Foolishness. So we're going to start just at the very end of chapter 9, and we're going to work through about 23 verses in quite a pace, and then we're going to see what the teacher says about foolishness. And then we're going to end with what Jesus says about foolish behavior. So firstly, it's chapter 9, verse 17, on your sheets and on the back in English. Foolishness can't be hidden. Foolishness can't be hidden. Verse 17. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouts of a ruler of fools. No matter how powerful and how loud a ruler is, it does not compare to wise words. It's not about volume, it's about truth. Verse 18, wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Wisdom is better than destructive weapons. But the world is constantly being reminded of the fact that it just takes one fool to destroy much good. They shout in orders loudly. So now we're in chapter 10, verse 1 to 3. As dead flies give perfume a bad smell, so a little folly outweighs wisdom and honour. The heart of the wise inclines to the right, but the heart of the fool to the left. Even as fools walk along the road, they lack sense and show everyone how stupid they are. Foolishness cannot be hidden. It only takes a little folly to outweigh wisdom and honour. Who said, I wish I never said that before? You're at a dinner party, try and make a good impression maybe to some people that you want to impress. And it's going well, they think you're great, and then bang, you just say something dumb. Reputation it takes a long time to get over a bad reputation. I think of my life, for example. I came to Christ when I was 21 or 22, and that I had a whole reputation before, which that sort of folly doesn't just change overnight. It's not an overnight thing. It takes a decade or so. For people notice folly so much. They notice the wrong. Just like when a fool leaves a house, everyone can see that. They're foolish. So foolishness destroys reputation. So next point, verse 4. foolishness in high places. Verse 4, if a ruler anger rises against you, do not leave your post. Calmness can lay great offence to rest. The teacher advises in those who serve the king should respond to king's anger with calmness and gentleness. Else it'll just be dangerous. Forget about serving a king. We know this in any confrontation. That when we are confronted with someone angry, the only way to diffuse the confrontation is by gentleness and calmness, isn't it? People who are angry are just looking for one word to feed off, and it just escalates, doesn't it? We were saying the other week how wise people don't react quickly and how they just step back and see the situation for what it is. So there's a danger of becoming angry. So verse 5, there is an evil I have seen under the sun, the sort of error that arises from a ruler. Fools are put in many high positions, while the rich occupy the low ones. I have seen slaves on horseback, while princes go on foot like slaves. It sounds strange, but really he's painting a picture of a world upside down, where people get in the positions that they shouldn't get. The fools are elevated to high positions, while those who are wise have the low ones. And we know that when fools are elevated to high positions, it becomes dangerous because they have responsibility. One sinner destroys much good. So, next point, a fool at work is a danger to themselves. This is quite funny. So, verse 8 to 11. Whoever digs a pit may fall into it. Whoever breaks through a wall may be bitten by a snake. Whoever quarries stones may be injured by them. Whoever splits logs may be endangered by them. If the axe is dull, its edge is unsharpened. More strength is needed, but skill will bring success. If a snake bites before it's charmed, the charmer receives no fee. According to the Labour Force Survey, it estimates that just under 500,000 people were injured at work last year in the UK. Fools are dangerous to other people, but they're also a danger to themselves. If wisdom is applied knowledge, then foolishness is not applying that knowledge. And if you're in a risky situation, that is dangerous, right? It's obvious. And the teacher doesn't explain why they get hurt, but we saw earlier that fools don't listen to advice. They didn't pay attention in the safety instructions. Maybe it's because they were lazy, or maybe because they were distracted. Or they just thought they were best. They knew what was best. Sideline, who saw Soso chopping wood in Ireland? Yeah, he chops like a champion. Who saw that? It was amazing. He had this real sharp axe and these tiny logs, and he just somehow learned how to chop wood. And he did it very wisely. He didn't get hurt. Everyone was worried about him, and all night he was just chopping wood. This was it was great. Yeah, Yeah, a wise brother over there, definitely. So, my next point. Fools tend to talk. Verse 12 to 14. Words from the mouth of the wise are gracious, but fools are consumed by their own lips. At the beginning, their words are folly. At the end, they are wicked madness. And fools multiply words. No one knows what is coming. Who can tell someone else what will happen after them? Fools tend to be quite talkative, don't they? They like the sound of their own voice. And when it says they're consumed by their own lips, it means they were swallowed up by their own thoughts. The fool's going, here the example, the fool's going on about something which they know nothing about. That's what fools do, don't they? They just don't know anything, but they just carry on talking about it. And here they're talking about the future, and so far we know through Ecclesiastes no one knows the future. So a fool is consumed by their own wrong ideas. Okay, next point, a fool at work. We go briefly back to the workplace, verse 15. The toil of fools wearies them. They do not know the way to town. So a wise person may not know what the future is, but at least they know how to do everyday activities like commuting. The reason why the fool is so tired is because they just don't know the way home. It's not because they worked really hard. And they've walked an unnecessary distance to get home. Who here's missed a train or got the wrong train? Who's ended up in Mitcham Eastfields? It's just my wife and me. Oh, and now, good. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? You think, Streatham, no, I've gone. It's just horrible. You just missed it. It's hard to get back from there. But why did that happen? Why did you get the wrong train? You weren't paying attention. Fools don't pay attention. They have a habit in not paying attention to what's around them. They're unaware. So now we go into four more traits of a fool. So firstly, a fool is indulgent, verse 16 to 17. Woe to the land whose king was a servant, and whose princes feast in the morning. Blessed is the land whose king is of noble birth, and whose princes eat at the proper time, for strength and not for drunkenness. Fools are indulgent. It's a trait of a fool, being indulgent. They're excessively eating and drinking. And they're doing this at the wrong time. They're not even in an airport. The airport's a great way, it's just this weird loophole. It's okay to have a couple of pints of Wetherspoons before your flight 11. It's somehow okay. And you might, so if you see someone drinking before 12 o'clock, you go, oh, he's might have a problem. But it's completely socially acceptable. After 12, after midday, that's the point, isn't it? After midday, you can go to a restaurant, you can have a glass of wine, that's absolutely fine. 12, it's fine, right? If you see someone, a businessman, walking around drunk on Streatham High Road in 11 o'clock in the morning, it's like, oh, he's got a problem. Oh, that's a shame. He really should be at work. See the same guy at 11 o'clock at night, drunk, don't think so much, do you? Even in our fallen world, we have proper times to do things, haven't we? And in here, it's a case of responsibility, a lack of responsibility. So if these princes are getting absolutely wasted, then they have no regard for their responsibility for that day. They're seeking pleasure, not purpose. So next point, a fool is lazy, verse 18. Through laziness, the rafters sag. Because of idle hands, the house leaks. This is very normal wisdom, instruction about laziness and the consequences of laziness. People sit around doing nothing all day. They invite disaster in some shape or form. Okay, next, a fool is focused on pleasure. Verse 19. A feast is made for laughter, wine makes life merry, and money is the answer for everything. Fools care for things under the sun. The teachers already said beforehand that a feast should be used for strength. He said elsewhere in the book that mourning is better than laughter because you face up to reality of death. And he's also said elsewhere that if you love of money, it will never satisfy. So a fool is someone who seeks pleasure more than purpose. Okay, next point. A fool is indiscreet. Verse 20. Do not revile the king even in your thoughts, or curse the rich in your bedroom, because a bird in the sky may carry your words, and a bird on the wing may report what you say. Who's heard that phrase, a little birdie told me? That's where it's from. How cool is that? I've heard from different sources that this is where it's from, so that's great. Thoughts can obviously just spill into words sometimes, and those words can be heard by the wrong people in power, and that could be a danger to you. The idea could be that fools tend to spread rumours and the wise keep stum. Now, of course, there are world leaders that sin, actively sin, and sometimes it's a right thing to do, to protest, and it'd be right to face that danger. But the teacher's just saying, just think about it before you say it. There is going to be consequences. Okay, so what's our conclusion about all this? This was a portrait of a fool. They make bad decisions, consumed by their own ideas. They lack responsibility, they're lazy. They seek pleasure more than purpose. They're a danger to themselves and others. I think the common thread through all these characteristics, it's about me. Not me. Could be. Sometimes. But it's about the self, isn't it? It's what can I get? What's good for me? Having godly wisdom is viewing life through God's perspective and living accordingly. So a foolish life is viewing life how you see it and living according to that. The teachers painted this portrait of a fool so that we would know, choose wisdom over folly. And what a great way to end his teaching on wisdom. Don't do that. Do this instead. Knowing, though, we all have foolish tendencies, how can we avoid the consequences of our foolish behaviour? How can we be wise? We look to the one who is wise. We look to Jesus. Jesus is the ultimate portrait of wisdom. Paul says that Jesus, who has become for us wisdom from God. So under the sun, you have fools taking high positions. Jesus had the ultimate high position, and he took the lowest position. He became a servant. Under the sun, fools, well, they get hurt by their own folly. Jesus willingly was hurt, was obedient to death. To take the punishment of our own foolishness. The most dangerous thing a foolish person can do is to believe that they're a Christian and are not. Hundreds of years later, after this was written, Jesus painted their own picture of what wise people do and what foolish people do. And he'd done this at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, which is his longest preaching. It's the most famous sermon in the world. And he ends it like this. So on the back here in English, and so hopefully Bible Gateway, it's Matt 7:24. Have you got it? Yeah, great. To 27. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evil doers. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down and the streams rose and the winds blew against the house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. So there will be many people on Judgment Day saying, Lord, Lord. And they will be shocked to know that they can't enter heaven. They turned away because they didn't know Jesus. The title Lord expresses relationship. If Jesus is Lord, that makes the person saying Lord, makes them the servant. What do servants do? They obey commands. Everyone has some sort of truth that they're standing on. Some sort of set of values that guide them in this life. Jesus is saying the ultimate foundation, the ultimate truth is my words. You have the words of eternal life, says the disciples. Where else should we go? To practice these words is to live wisely, and it guides a person in any situation, but also affirms their relationship with Jesus. Jesus is the Lord. He is the master. We are his servants. That's a relationship. Any expression of the servant of doing their own will is a denial of Jesus' lordship. You're not really my Lord, I can do what I want. It's denial of who Jesus is. These people hear the word, but they have no reason or desire to practice it. So if you've read most of the Sermon on the Mount, which I encourage you to do if you haven't read it, it's from chapter 5 to chapter 7, it's a whole lot of sacrificial living. You don't really gain much, really. Like it's sacrificial living. The first half, it's talking about how we conduct ourselves with people, and then the second half is how we conduct ourselves to God. But the fool can see, well, I'm not going to gain anything here. In the here and now, under the sun. So the wise, so simply put it, the wise submit to Jesus' lordship and live accordingly. The fools don't submit to Jesus' lordship and live accordingly. Merely hearing the word of God isn't enough. We have to be doers of the word. As James puts it, James is Jesus' half-brother, faith by itself, if not accompanied by action, is dead. This is not works-based salvation. And it may sound it in just this present moment, oh, this is all works-based, oh dear, I'm scared, yeah. This is relationship-driven. Who is Jesus to you? Is he your Lord? Well, that means you will act as a servant. This is not works-based salvation. This is relationship-driven. We love because he first loved us. The soil, the seed that was planted on good soil produced what? A crop. If you remain in Jesus, you will bear much fruit. This is a consequence. This is the most amazing consequence. The consequence of being a fool is danger, ultimate danger, but the consequence of living wisely and being Jesus' servant is fruit, a crop. You will see God's abundance, you'll see God's blessing, and you'll live out his will in this world. Real foundations are always, it's never really seen. They're like, both houses look identical. Both houses look completely identical. They heard the same word. They probably went to the same church. But the foundation of your faith it's only really tested in the storm, isn't it? That's when it's tested. Is it secure? When the streams rise and the winds blow, is your faith refined? Or does it wither? the ultimate storm and what Jesus was talking about. He wasn't talking about having a bad day. He was talking about the ultimate judgment. And we see that the fool have who fooled themselves in thinking that they knew Jesus. They experienced the ultimate disaster. That their spiritual house that they built up is gone, and they won't enter God's kingdom. No one can fool Jesus. Many of the things, so we know we have foolish tendencies. We know we want to have God, Jesus, as our rock, our foundation. But we know we have foolish tendencies. And so to practice his words is also to ask for forgiveness. So you have he teaches for us to pray in the Sermon on the Mount. And obviously in that prayer, he teaches us that we ask for forgiveness for our debts. A wise person knows their sin, is aware of it, and asks for forgiveness. A wise person does that. No one's good apart from God alone. We are all going to go back to that one line and ask for forgiveness. We sang today, Lord, I come, I confess, bowing here I find my rest. Without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Make Jesus your foundation. Let him guide your heart. Let's pray. Lord, thank you that you offer us a firm foundation. Lord, help us practice your words. Help us stand on the eternal and live in the eternal every day. Help us deny and turn away from our foolish tendencies. And seek your glory in everything we do. Amen.